All right, thanks, guys. Once again, happy Sunday morning to you. We've once again improved yesterday to 6-2 in my last 8 daily best play tier package picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And of course, that's a site that I operate that gives you premium daily sports picks beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We're also 4-2 straight up in our last 6 extra daily pick tier package plays on that website as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. But before, we go ahead and move on here, let's go ahead and take a look at some Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. And we're going to start with Alex Petrov squaring off against Stan Bykov in a 6 p.m. Eastern showdown. And speaking of Bykov, he's really been playing some quality table tennis as of late, winning 4 out of his last 5 matches. Matter of fact, Bykov destroyed Yevgeny Ilyukhin 3-0 during that stretch of victories. He also garnered himself marquee wins over the likes of Alex Gribkov and Vlad Nemeshkalo, both by the convincing score of 3-1. Meanwhile, Petrov on the other side has dropped 2 out of his last 4, throwing out his most recent outing. Both of those losses came in devastating fashion to Alex Gribkov by the final of 3-2. This should be a highly competitive matchup, although I am going to give the very slight fade to Petrov in this spot here. I'm going to fade Petrov, but it's real close. But with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Stan Bykov, winning this one straight up in a very close matchup. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Sunday's Russian Liga Pro table tennis action. Happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you're having a good weekend. Now, before we go ahead and move on with the program, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where once again we improved yesterday to 6-2 straight up in our last 8 daily best play tier package picks on that website. We're also 4-2 straight up in our last 6 extra daily pick tier package plays as well. Very good package for us right now. We do daily premium sports picks on that website beginning at just $1.99 through the end of the month. We also have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to. If you're curious about signing up, we currently have well over 675 members right now signed up and active on that page. Now you might be wondering, why would all those folks sign up to receive Patreon picks where they can get them here for free on YouTube? And that's certainly a great point, a great concern. But there is a big problem with me handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the problem is this: if you were going to go ahead and bet every single game that's on the board that I put out here on YouTube, side and total, you're almost guaranteeing yourself failure. And I know that sounds crazy. I know that sounds weird. I'm supposed to be promoting here, but just hear me out. If you're going to bet every single game that's on the slate with your hard-earned money, side and total, it's certainly not a winning formula for success, and as a matter of fact, it's a recipe for disaster. The books are way too smart for that. They're way too sharp. They certainly have a lot more money than you and I do combined to be able to absorb that kind of ridiculous action. And most important, the math becomes aggressively against you the more and more games you play like that. It becomes egregiously against you if you play every single game. So what I do on Patreon is I make life a lot easier for you. I break it down and focus in on just 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're high percentage picks, games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, handicapping every single game that's on the board, side and total. And the good news is this: if you want to go ahead and check out my current Patreon record, you have access to that right now. You can do that for free at this moment. My current Patreon record is located right on the homepage. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. I'll also include a link in the comments section below as well. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive back into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we have Alex Petrov right back on the table, this time taking on Denis Sayanov in a 6 p.m. battle. Denis making his Russian Liga Pro debut here in 2020, while Petrov on the other side, the grizzled veteran, has garnered some success as of late, despite me fading him in our original matchup here. Petrov is actually in the middle of a 3-match win streak, with 2 out of those 3 victories coming by way of shutout. Now, Petrov shut out Alex Gribkov and Vlad Nemeshkalo during that span. He's also coming off a convincing 3-1 victory over Yevgeny Ilyukin during that span as well. Looks like a pretty decent spot for Petrov backers here. Give me Alex Petrov winning this one outright for some money line cash. Next contest, Nikita Lyfenko squaring off against Yuri Merkuzhin in a 6 p.m. battle. Merkuzhin is coming off a tough 3-2 loss at the hands of Lyfenko. He's also dropped 4 out of his last 5 matches. Yuri's lost to the likes of Viktor Ivanov and Alex Gribkov during that span. He's also 0-2 straight up in his last 2 head-to-head meetings with Lyfenko. All in all, Yuri's gone just 2-5 straight up in his last 7. Good for a win percentage of just .285 during that span. Meanwhile, Lyfenko on the other side, winner of 2 out of his last 3, including a solid 3-1 victory over Merkuzhin during that stretch. Lyfenko also beat Alex Gribkov in a solid hard-fought victory 3-2 within his last handful of contests. Looks like a fairly decent spot for Lyfenko here. Give me Nikita Lyfenko winning this one straight up in a competitive battle. Next contest, Georgy Vladimirovich Vaknin squaring off against Max Pronkin in a 6 p.m. showdown. Max has lost his last 5 straight, including 3 humiliating shutout losses during that span. Pronkin was shut out by Shirokov twice and Petrov once during that span. He also lost to Georgy Vaknin 3-1 during that stretch as well. And speaking of Georgy, he's been victorious in 2 out of his last 3, including a nasty 3-0 shutout victory over the likes of Danila Andreev. He also beat Max Pronkin 3-1 during that span as well. In addition to these victories, Georgie's also gone 5-2 straight up in his last 7, including another shutout victory over the likes of Vlad Petrov during that stretch as well. Looks like a pretty good spot for Vaknin backers here. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the best name in professional table tennis. I'm talking about Georgy Vladimirovich Vaknin, GVV. That's right, GV Vaknin. Getting the job done for some moneyline cash. With that, I'm going to slide to my next contest. It is going to be Alex Gribkov facing off against Alexei Yanashev in a 6:30 p.m. battle. Now, Yanashev hasn't been in action since April 23rd. It looks like he may have been injured mid-match against Nikita Lyfenko back then. He was leading Lyfenko in the first set 9-8 when that game was abandoned. And then following that incident, we haven't seen Yanashev in action until today. Now, Gribkov on the other side, he's playing at a pretty high level right now, winning 3 out of his last 4, including a dominating shutout victory 3-0 over the likes of Nikita Lyfenko. He also garnered himself convincing 3-1 victories over Yuri Merkuzhin and Viktor Ivanov during that stretch as well. Overall, Alex has posted a record of 4-3 straight up in his last 7. Looks like a pretty good spot for Gribkov backers here. Give me Alex Gribkov winning this one outright on the money line. Next contest, Vadim Krokin squaring off against Danila Andreev, 6:30 p.m. start time. Andreev is playing some pretty pathetic table tennis as of late, as he's currently coming off a 3-0 shutout loss to Georgy Vladimirovich Vaknin. Danny's also dropped 3 out of his last 4, and even worse, 7 out of his last 8 matches, including losses to the likes of Vadim Krokin and Vlad Petrov during that span. All in all, Andreev's gone just 1-7 straight up in his last 8. Good for a win percentage of just 125. Krokin on the other side hasn't been particularly lights out either, although he did garner himself 2 very hard-fought victories over the likes of Danny Andreev, 3-2, within his last handful of matches. So this should end up being a pretty competitive back-and-forth matchup, but Krokin's had the upper hand against Danny as of late. So with all that said and done, I'm going to go ahead and lean toward Vadim Krokin winning this one straight up in a very competitive contest. All right, next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Vlad Nemeshkalo taking on Yevgeny Ilyukin, 2 grizzled veterans squaring off in a 6:30 Eastern start time. Now, Ilyukin's really struggled as of late, losing his last 4 straight, with 2 of those losses coming by way of shutout. Yevgeny was shut out 3-0 by Alex Skrebnev, and you guessed it, Vlad Nemeshkalo during that span. Now, Ilyukin's also dropped 6 out of his last 7 matches as well, with another shutout loss coming at the hands of Stan Bykov during that stretch. All in all, Yevgeny's been shut out in 3 out of his last 6 losses and posted a win percentage of just 142 in his last 7. Now, Vlad, on the other side, he hasn't particularly been lighting the world on fire himself, but his last 2 victories did come by way of shutout. He destroyed Stan Bykov 3-0, along with decimating his opponent here, Yevgeny Ilyukin, in a shutout form during that span as well. This should be a wildly entertaining matchup. Both men definitely they're equal, but I do have to give the slight edge to Nemeshkalo in this spot here. So with all that said and done, give me Vlad Nemeshkalo winning this one straight up in a close one. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some shout-outs, once again brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. Shout out to Brandon Saunders, Chemo136. Shout out to my good friend Jeremy Wesley. Always great to see Jeremy in the comments section. Shout out to Shrestha Gupta, Joseph Moylan, Bill McMahon, Tanner Ivy, Kyle McGrath. Also got to give a shout out to Shane Michelin. Shout out to Going Crazy, Browns2220. Shout out to Fartley. Also want to give a shout out to Blaine Lyons, Billy Boogaloo. And last but certainly not least, got to give a shout out to my man, Armando Garcia. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Sunday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.